How many of you have heard of Singularity University? Okay, good. The video is going to be helpful then. We believe that innovation company that believes technology and entrepreneurship can solve the world's greatest challenges. It's founded by Peter Diamandis and Ray Kurzweil. Some of you may have book Abundance or read about the Singularity. That's what Peter and Ray founded this company on. I'm going to give you a challenge of living in an exponential age. Right now, just to start, I've sat here and watched the speakers. One of the things that happens in an exponential age is distraction. That's driven by data. So today, 2.5 quintillion bits of data will be created. A lot of that's on your cell phones. So here we are in person. We didn't do Zoom. We got a lot of Zoom, right, during the pandemic. And yet, in a place where we're come together, we fly all the way here together, we say we want to be a community, we want to work together, we want to be present, right? 25% of you will be on your phone right now. Literally 25% of you will be on your phone right now. I can see everybody doing it because it's something important, right? What that tells you is exponential and data is intrusive every minute of your life. It is one of the great challenges. It's sort of funny. I've asked people, we have 15 minutes, actually 16 minutes and 42 seconds, right, before whatever you're going to do. Can we be a community for 15 minutes? Can we disconnect? Can we put our phone down? Can we do all these sort of things? Because we all came here, right, to be together. I mean, that's why I'm here. Wanted to meet all of you. Maybe you wanted to meet me, etc. But I just like to come up with very concrete, simple ways to describe to you what happens in an information chaotic environment and how, while it's incredibly powerful, and how about the last speaker, right? The data visualization, it's so important, and yet it keeps us from ourselves, even when in a stated way, when we come all the way here, buy tickets and sit down. So it's quite interesting to me. Big message about Singularity and about this, you can rely on exponential change. You can rely on exponential change. You can look at this data, you can see these sort of things have combined all the way through, and you see how fast it's going. As a government, as a policy person in government, as a leader, this is crucial. Not only can you rely on it, you can maybe even be afraid of it. Or you can use it to your advantage. This is the most, in some ways to us, the most foundational element of the work we do and the message, right, that we would leave with you. I happen to think about exponential change and thinking about it in the pandemic problem, right? When we looked at this and we said the pandemic occurred and we were kind of slow to realize that the pandemic's an exponential problem. We know it's an exponential problem. In the absence of vaccines on the shelf, there was probably one solution, not a solution, there was one response to an exponential problem. All the smart people, we worked on it, we thought about it, right? And the solution to slow it down was to put every airplane in the world on the ground. Because the pandemic and that little virus is cute or dangerous, but it doesn't fly very fast, right? We had this huge challenge in our minds of saying, let's put airplanes on the ground, let's slow ship down. We just want to slow things down. And against an exponential challenge, you want to just, at the minute, slow things down. It gives you an idea of how we don't rely on exponential. And if we think about the challenge that we don't want to use, right, an exponential thinking, exponential mindset to identify it clearly. That is not to say that that would have been the answer. Maybe changed a whole bunch. Probably would have saved a lot of lives. Would have thought that, we might have gotten ahead of some things a little bit. But it was in an exponential game, or if you're a chess player, like some of us are, right? You have to find the best move. That was probably the best move at the moment. It wasn't the best move if you were realizing, right, that you were going to face exponential challenges. Those are two different things. The only way to face an exponential challenge is, like we've talked about, I've heard it brought up many times, we're going to have more viruses and more things, right? Is to develop both, very smart vaccines. We're going to have to use a lot of technology, M&AR technology, all these things. So we have to do that. Why? Because you can rely on exponential change called viruses and everything else. If you face the challenge, if you don't have those things, then you have to analyze it as an exponential problem and realize the weakness in the exponential challenge you face. And the weakness in the exponential challenge that we face with the virus was what? It can't go anywhere. Right? So it's just a way of thinking and identify it. So if you rely and you know that the exponential challenge is coming, it forms public policy. If you don't get public policy, then you have to think about the weakness of the exponential challenge. Organizations, tomorrow's nations, think exponentially, not in a linear fashion. Another unnatural act. I want to tell you this is an unnatural act for humans because evolution is slow. We live in the linear. I was born in 1958. You know the bad thing about 1958? When you go through the thing on the, where you say when you were born, on those little apps or things you do, you have to like keep spinning to get to the bottom, right? Yeah, you're 12, I'm old. So what happens is I worry I'm going to fall off. I'm going to get to the point and they go, sorry, you can't fill out any more of these forms. You've fallen off the list. I don't know when that's going to happen to me, but I am worried. In my life, the world was linear and normal, right? A normal distribution. Things went like this, and it was a normal distribution. That, by the way, kept me getting fired several times because the person who puts up the hockey stick misses the goals, and then you get fired, and you don't get to stand up here 40 years later, I think. But that is not the world we live in. You have to adopt this exponential curve as the fundamental planning tool that you use as a government, right? As individuals, as parents, you have to get across. And it is unnatural because nothing we do, we experience very few things in an exponential way. So you must embrace this. I haven't figured out 100% ways to get everybody to embrace it. We pound on it. We give you examples all the time. But if you could leave today and thinking about this is, right, inevitable, the exponential you rely on is going to happen, and then you have to start thinking about seeing it. One way I look like, if people don't bring me charts and graphs or things when they're thinking about their organizations, if people don't show me some things that fit exponentially, I'll actually ask them to go back, can we go check for an exponential curve or an exponential idea in the project you've been working on? So what are the challenges for governments in this, or any of us? So we'll play with this. So 6 core challenges you can think about: economy, healthcare, education, climate, which includes energy, safety, and trust, right? In a world of exponential change, everything seems a little scary, a little chaotic, and a little unnerving. Governments and structures of governments and whatever form they came, whatever principles are used, I'd like to think we have great respect for any principles that can be used because they're all, in a way, designed to do the same things. Give people a stable place under which they can work and thrive. They have historical context. But this exponential change makes it incredibly difficult. So in the economy, and I think we heard 2 speakers ago, in fact, talking about people want to keep the brakes on. 1960s were great. We love the 50s. You have the United States. Well, no kidding. We came out of World War II. Everybody else had a lot of trouble. We had sat on our side of the island and sort of produced a lot of things, but nobody had bombed us or done anything like this. Well, of course, the 60s looked pretty good when you come out of 1945, and that's your relative playing field. But this change and disruption now means that thinking about the economy is very difficult. What is that? What's the key word probably to think about the economy in that environment? Is agility. And thinking in terms of decision rules, not prediction. So agility and decision rules against certain goals and ideas will be a very important way of dealing with the challenge of your economy. What are some innovation challenges that we happen when you're in the government? Reaction. I don't know if proaction is a word, it's one we use, but who knows, it might make it. But you need to not be reactive. It goes back to just this simple idea. We're looking at exponential change. We know it's coming. We know it's happening. We experience it. How do we look ahead and think through that. Reaction in an exponential environment is not good. It's actually not a bad strategy in a more linear environment, right? Because then the first movers or the first people to make mistakes, maybe they lose money or something happens, and you can regroup, look at those learnings without having expended resources, and therefore go forward, on that basis. That is not a good strategy in the exponential world. The value of learning quickly is quickly resorted because you get ahead of that curve, and at the end, right, even if it looks close and you're both on that curve, you end up, by the shape of that curve, right, you end up most market share, most good health quickly by moving forward. I want to talk about another one down here on innovation challenges. The tyranny of voting. Our phones, which we're not using right now. By the way, if we took a test, we can't help ourselves. I mean, I almost want to do this, right? I'm like, you're so nice, but I want to know what happened. My daughter could have, said something to me. I could share it with you. But this thing, we have still not figured out. Right? We do not know when you have data at our fingertips and we can vote, what that means. We like voting. We all like to vote. But this tyranny of voting, is it 51% for, how this sort of comes together, complex voting systems, you don't like candidate A, you get a vote for 3, and we rotate all their things. We haven't figured out, how the tyranny of voting. It's been written about for a long time in academic writing and in political theory writing, but it's actually on us now. And we know the problem of voting, right, that we can see it in the United States, is that you can be distracted by current emotion and current noise and inaccurate data, right, to manipulate results, which we would know with, good thought and good data that aren't correct. I'm not going to go all of these. Obviously, climate, we know these things. We have lots of solutions coming. So how does a government work? You need to be purpose-driven. I think the UAE and other countries here in the Middle East I'm particularly excited about are seeing very clear purpose. You have to embrace innovation. The last speaker said that very well. You have to lean into this. If you're doing this, things are not going to go well. And you have to empower your people. And we see good examples of that in the world, around this region again, I think with some really fine leadership, right? Where people are saying, we need everybody working on this. So this is why. You have to start with why all the time. I'm building my country, I'm freeing my people, I'm curing, a bad disease for children. You have to have why. Why is that important? Because what it does, right, it gives you this sense of purpose. And purpose sees through chaos, sees through dramatic change, sees through distraction, right? We know that. What's a great example of that? A family is actually a great example of purpose. I have children. I know, fundamental purpose. I want my children to do well. Along the way, right, I ask them to do dishes. They do important things, right, very important things. If they make a mistake on dishes, I do not say to them, that's it, I'm done with you. You're worthless, you can't do the dishes, right? Our goal as a family was not to be the best dishwashing family in history. We can get our dishes done in 4 minutes and 30 seconds. They get away perfectly clean and all that sort of thing. It's an important lesson, right? We could talk about the trends of our dishwashing capabilities, and with my children, some of my children are better, but it's not the why. It's just the lesson. It's just something we do to get by. So I want you to feel how important that sense of purpose is in an exponential changing world, and in a world where there's a lot of chaos and a lot of disruption, because we know where we're going. If we just had an experience of that last night, talking to someone, a colleague of mine in the audience, and I said over and over, can you just tell me the one thing we're trying to do here? I know you have 67 slides, but what's the one thing? That's the why. You have to empower your organization and your people, right? You have to give them that are so excited about innovation that you look for it all the time. One of the best techniques to do this in a government or a company is don't be confused by the people who are running the largest department or making the most money as being necessarily the people who are going to think about innovation for you. They're delivering, right? If I'm running a big business right now, or a big department, health or human welfare or the energy world, I'm busy. Right? I'm busy executing and delivering. I'm not necessarily thinking about innovation. As a way. So what I think about in organizations now is not just creating, my thought leadership group. Not the execution group, not the people delivering budgets, but the thought leadership. And if I find those people, we give ourselves wide latitude to think about the future and long term all the time, knowing that we're executing. If we do this, we know that exponential is coming. Right? We empower our people, we find a North Star. Then these are your UN goals. We probably recognize the UN goals. We can do this. We can find solutions. We can collaborate. We can sit in a meeting without our phones for 15 minutes while we focus on an important issue, knowing the principles behind us. Our vision, right? A world of abundance created by future makers working together to solve the world's greatest challenges. Working together, using these principles, will solve the greatest challenges. We're optimistic. You see some good cause for optimism. I love the last speaker again. He gives you all this good stuff. You can see we have children, we have things, we have a lot of challenges. The last point I want to leave you with, and this one I cannot emphasize enough. This is going to happen fast. This is going to happen fast. People don't like two things. They don't like exponential change, and they don't like exponential change that happens faster. So this is just a recent example, right? 3.5 years for Netflix to get to 1 million, right? 1 million users. 2 years for Twitter, 10 months for Facebook, 5 days for ChatGPT. 5 days, right? So when I think of when you get up in the morning, okay, the world's exponential, don't put on your, get a cup of coffee. And my best advice, right, is we should put on our tennis shoes, right? Because we have to run fast, right? This is happening fast. And it's really now you can think about it's really if you will, the confluence of a couple of things. Moore's law, computing power, right? We know that, right? AI makes things really fast. I mean, this little machine, right? The ChatGPT, which took a long time. Remember that exponential curve? People were working at a long time, and then all of a sudden it goes like this, and then it goes like that. That's what that feels like. In behind our world right now are lots and lots of exponential curves that look slow, but are in that last part. So we should be ready, we should be optimistic, and we should use these principles. I think we've had a great day. Thank you very much.